What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Crunch Time for the NBA Finals Championship Series. Game one, going to be honest, in a little bit less than an hour. We're going to be doing the thing, so it should be fun. You know, we've spent, it's odd, but spent a long time in basketball this year. Every year it's the same, but when you really think about the breakdown of it and how they kick off the season like a couple months into NFL, and they're playing a little NBA round ball, and then we're not finishing up here till June, and football is like long gone, man. Such a long season in the NBA with the playoffs and everything. But today, game one, joined by Squirrel, going to be sitting here and breaking down some stuff. So let's jump to Squirrel and see. He's the showdown expert. He's the millionaire maker, showdown winner kind of guy. Not me, but Squirrel knows what he's doing. Squirrel, how's it going over there, man?
Good, yeah. It feels a little bit like opening night because it's been so long since we had basketball. It's been like I guess over a week or so. But I don't know. I am not sure how much more basketball we have in front of us. This might be a short series, at least in my mind. But we'll see it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out starting tonight.
Well, you said it's a possible short series. You want to elaborate on that? How you think it's going to play out?
I think the Celtics are a good team here. And I didn't, I should caveat this that I've got some bias. I had like not big ticket, but like, one of my big betting tickets at the start of the playoffs was Minnesota to win the West. And it was like 11-1. And so Dallas kind of ruined that for me, but I still think that Dallas might have been the third best team in the West, at least maybe in terms of like matching up with these Celtics. So, I think the Celtics were good all year, all season long. And I think they're going to, they've continued that in the playoffs. And I think they're going to continue that right through this final series. But, we've been surprised in the past. And so, it wouldn't be a shock, right? If we're coming into like game 6, game 7 going, wow, like people underestimated Dallas the whole season. And they're a fun team to watch. Like Dallas is a fun team to watch. Luka with Kyrie, with the big guys, the lob passes and all, like they're fun. So I think it'll be some fun games to watch, but I do think that Boston's just the better team
here. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch all that. I don't. It's really tough for me to say because there's a piece of me that thinks Boston, is they're very good. They may be a touch overrated. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. And Dallas, it's weird, but the Western Conference was all about matchups. Certain teams were really good against other teams. Like if it would have been just a touch out of order there, like if Minnesota would have been a different seed and would have never seen Denver in the first or second round, we may be looking at Denver right here. They were made to beat Denver, and the same thing could be said for Dallas. If Dallas had run into Denver at some point, they would have been bounced. Like it's all matchup driven over there in that conference, and Boston kind of just cruised on to this thing and didn't have much competition. I don't know what to think about it, honestly, man. Boston makes it. They've got the best starting five in basketball, but they make these games so variant with their three-point shooting. That's what they, both offensively and defensively, what they allow and what they take. They just leave it up to the three-point, and they're really good at it, but sometimes they're not. And when they're not, things fall apart. So can they be good for 4 games out of 7 or 3 games out of 5, whatever it is. But again, guys, so this is kind of like a crunch time, but we're not going all the way up to lock. But if you have questions, fire them off. I guarantee you, if you have a question and I see it in the YouTube chat, I'm going to answer it. We're going to do questions. We're going to just shoot the breeze here about the game, talk about the players, maybe some DFS stuff. I'd like to get into some props, maybe build an underdog ticket, see how that plays out. Fun stuff. We've got all kinds of good stuff for the NBA final. So I do see a question in chat for DKGPP. He's getting a lot of Hauser. Would you go underweight on him, or is he fine at his salary? I have an opinion. Let's hear yours first.
I think he's fine at his salary. I think, and I put him a little bit high on him in the expert survey. I think it's Hauser or Maxi Kleber. Yeah, I think if you have the salary, I think it's maybe $200 more to get to Kleber. Like maybe Kleber is somebody I like a little bit more in the series, a little bit farther removed from his I think it was a shoulder injury. But I think you can go to Kleber, That's the only. But I wouldn't say like, oh, you need to rearrange your lineup. Like I think we're gonna need all the money we can get on this one. So I'm okay playing some Sam Hauser.
I am of the opinion that outside of builds where I'm kind of factoring in, oh man, this could be the blowout, this could be a blowout, one way or another. I'm trying to avoid a lot of the bench players. I just kind of want to go. I want to play not just the starters. Maybe I go one or two deep off of each team, but I'm going to limit my bench guys. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of room for bench guys in this series. There are certain guys who are going to be very unplayable in this series. Like everything's going to change from the last series you saw, and we'll see how the coaches adjust. But some guys are going to be unplayable that were very much playable for the first or second or even third round, but you're not going to. So I'm going to avoid a lot of the bench guys. But with that being said, blowouts can happen. And, I do like those builds because Boston is that kind of a team. We seen them get pumped by 20 at home by – who was it, Miami? And then the second round, they got beat by 20 at home, I believe, by Cleveland. So they're capable of getting blown out. And obviously, man, when they get hot, we could see a whole fourth quarter with a whole bunch of bench players. But I'm reserving those guys for that. Let's see here. Your favorite star and pro players on FanDuel in a very large field. So that changes the dynamics if you want to break up the chalk a little bit. What about FanDuel, favorite large field? Favorite star and pro?
So I would say, I think just straightforward, like not considering ownership. I think like star, probably Jason Tatum, right? We're maybe presuming like you got Luka in the MVP. I think star is like Jason Tatum, and guy I really like on FanDuel in particular is Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know, like I think that could be the chalk. I don't know if it's really going to be the chalk because I think people might be a little bit hesitant with Porzingis because he's coming back from the injury. I thought it was noteworthy. Like Porzingis and Jason Tatum averaged the same amount of FanDuel points per minute this season. You would have thought like it was much more for just Jason Tatum, but like Kristaps Porzingis is a great FanDuel scorer with the 3 points for blocks and steals. I think if you want to get a little bit different, somebody that I'm much higher on FanDuel than on DraftKings is Daniel Gafford, just with the 3 points for the blocks. And he's only 9,000 on FanDuel. Like you could maybe put Gafford, and I think people are going to be kind of down on him, and like maybe higher on Derek Lively, but everything is like price considered and scoring system considered. And so actually, I think I kind of like Derek Lively a little bit more actually on DraftKings. But maybe you could put like Gafford in as the pro, and that's pretty contrarian.
Yeah. So that's a couple of questions. So I'd ask you this. For me, it's just kind of like on FanDuel, I'm locking in Luka in the top spot, and I don't really have any desire to be different that way. Like I don't want to punt off money just trying to be different. How do you feel about Luka in the MVP? Is if you're 150, the largest of fields, is he still just a lock button there, or are you going to try to change up that spot a little bit?
I don't think he has to be a lock button. But it's tough. Like when I played FanDuel single game NBA contests, I'm always shocked at like how low the ownership is on the MVP. Like it's like people think of it like DraftKings, like it's like salary multiplier, and it's not. It's just the points multiplier. Like I would say the overwhelming majority, if you're doing multiple lineups, like the overwhelming majority of your MVP spots should be Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. You could maybe see like maybe it's a Kyrie game, maybe it's like a Jaylen Brown game, and like maybe Kristaps Porzingis like sneaks in there. But like if you're doing 150 lineups, and I will be because I got like 150 tickets for the FanDuel single game NBA, I would reserve it to like single digits, like Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, and like a sprinkling like a handful of like Porzingis or maybe Jrue Holiday MVP. You're just trying to find the top scorer, and that's what's going to be important. And like the overwhelming odds are the top scorer is going to be, top fantasy scorer is going to be Luka or Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I get it for sure. That's kind of what there was a question in chat about can you hit on FanDuel? I assume maybe you mean can you like ship solo on FanDuel? Yeah, it's going to be hard with Luka, and I admit that, but it's also going to be extremely difficult to win or even split it if you don't have Luka in it, and he just does even vaguely. He's so much higher projected than everybody, and just in a vacuum, he's going to score so many more points. And like you said, no multipliers. It's just going to be tough, considering that 2 meetings. I'm not going to base everything on 2 meetings in the regular season, but through 2 meetings in the regular, they kind of gave Luka whatever he wanted, and they still had a plus 38 point differential against the Mavericks. Boston did. Why would they change it too much? They'll just kind of let him get his thing and, and still win the game. So, I like Luka's. Question was kind of leading into that on the survey. Do we have any changes in your favorite captain from the survey? Thoughts on game flow also?
So yeah, I was surprised I was the only one that liked Drew Holiday, favorite captain on the expert survey. I think he's like the answer for like the best captain because I think he's the best mid range guy. Something just to note because we did this show last year, right? Like for Denver and Miami, and we were talking about like how do we handle Jokic? And people were putting him into the captain spot and just whatever. And then there was a lot of like discourse, like you got to just put like Jokic, he's going to get a triple double. You got to put him in the captain spot, and you're going to have some really low price guys in the utility spots, and you just got to eat it. But like I don't think that Jokic rather was the winning captain at all in that series. And I remember we looked back after he put up like a 40-point triple double or something. He had 80 DraftKings points, and he was not the high scoring captain. Like he was not the captain in the winning lineup of the main GPP, just because like that salary multiplier. For these top guys, especially for Luka, like that means you're playing a lot of Sam Hauser if you're playing Luka, or you gotta be playing a lot of like Maxi Kleber in the utility spot if you're playing Luka in the captain. I like the mid range guys. I like the idea of going like over the field on like a Derek Lively captain, or I think Drew Holiday is my favorite of those guys in the mid range. So no difference in the captain spots for me, and I'm probably going to be under the field on like Luka and Jason Tatum in the captain spot, just because I think you need that salary for your utility spots.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for full disclosure, I just did me 20 lineups on DraftKings. I locked him in to the captain spot just because I think there's a chance that, he's at the end of this game, he's 70 to 75 points. And the next guy closest to him, maybe it's Tatum or Brown, they're at 50 points, which is a good game too. But it's just too much ground to make up for with that guy. And you can take a really low hit on one of your utilities if he's that much further from the field. That's kind of what I'm banking on in this game. I may be wrong, but I do think if I was running 150, I like some of the things you said too right there. There's a lot, man. There's a lot to like. When you go back to the Minnesota series, 5 games, he was in the optimal, I think, twice in the captain spot. He had one game where he didn't hit the optimal, but if you look at the second, third, and fourth optimal, he was the captain there. And then there was game 5 where, God, I don't know how he didn't end up in the optimal as the captain after that first quarter, but boy, he cooled off and Kyrie kind of got hot. So he's in the mix, man, at all times to be that guy, right?
Yeah. So, and just one thing to add though, so like last year, I don't play a ton of NBA Showdown during the regular season, so I don't even know if this was a thing that changed this year or the beginning of the year, or if it just changed for the playoffs. But I know like last year we could always put in that $1,000 utility guy. We were playing like Omer Yurtseven, last year. It's almost a little bit of a fun game, right? You're trying to figure out like if it does become a blowout, which of the $1,000 minimum price guys is going to get a rebound and a 3 or whatever in the last minute of the game. This year, I noticed like DraftKings pricing, the minimum price guy is 2,000. Now the 2,000 guys are a little bit higher quality. It's guys that like probably are going to get in the game, and like you've got like Sam Hauser right at I think 2,200, and I think Kleber is like 2,400. So like these are guys that are going to be rotation pieces. Like I expect them to get minutes even if the game's not a blowout. And then the $2,000 guys are like the Markieff Morris and the Xavier Tillman. But yeah, there is no like $1,000 piece that you can put in and get like play Luka in the captain spot, and then play Jason Tatum and like Kyrie, and you just put in $1,000 guy. Like the minimum price is 2,000. I feel like that hurts Luka in the captain spot a little bit more.
Well, yeah, Marcus is in chat. He says they changed it after the Lakers and Nuggets series, which would be interesting. Maybe they're trying to avoid making it too easy, and just because with the 1,000 you can Jokic and plug him in every game and plug Luka in every game, and you have the 1,000. And maybe it was a little too easy to hit the optimal, so that's good. But Yeah, that's a good point too. But speaking of lower price guys near 2,000, you mentioned earlier Maxi Kleber. He's the guy that I'm kind of looking at like, okay, if there's a weird guy there that could get a little bit of playing time, maybe it's Kleber because it's just a different matchup than it has been so far for Dallas. And they may need him to space that floor against Boston a little bit more. And, the rim protection might not be as necessary in this series because Boston likes to shoot a lot of threes anyway. So I'm kind of looking at Kleber down there in that below $3,000 range of a guy who could total crapshoot, but he could pay off. Is anybody like low range that you feel halfway decent about?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thought process. Like this is a different series, and like matching up with Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford is different than like matching up with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. So I think they're going to end like I think Kleber's getting healthier. Like he was kind of like an afterthought just because he just wasn't available for the games. And now I think they might need him. He's like a little bit more of a, I think like a defensive big. And they're just going to need like big bodies. Dallas is. And so it's a different series. So if there is one guy that's maybe got a little bit of upside in his playing time that people aren't really thinking about, I mean, he's cheaper than like Luka Cornett. So I think you might see like a little bit more Maxi in this series, like maybe at the expense of like Jaden Hardy, maybe even Josh Green. I think the starting lineup is going to be the same. I just think that you're going to maybe see a little bit more Maxi Kleber. Maybe comes at the expense of PJ Washington.
Okay, so one question I'd like to ask you and have you see if you have any process here that typically when you deal with the Celtics, you're dealing with either Brown or Tatum as being like going off the charts because that's kind of what they're built around, those two guys. Sometimes it can vaguely be both of them, but usually it's either one or the other. Do you have a preference between those two guys, or do you think there's room for both of them, like in a game tonight?
I think I like Jason Tatum. I think this might be a Jason Tatum series. I think that the difference between like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown is bigger than the difference between Jalen Brown and like the rest of the Celtics guys, if that makes sense. Like I don't see it as like it's Jason Tatum's team and Jalen Brown. I see it as like it's Jason Tatum's team, and then there's a bunch of guys. Like there's Jalen Brown, there's Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday. I don't know that like Jalen Brown is going to be the second highest fantasy scorer for the Celtics. I think the first top is going to be Jason Tatum. I don't think that it's going to be. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be Jalen Brown second.
And then another one, probably not playing both guys in the same lineup, but the backcourt, White or Drew, could be one or the other. Do you have a preference on those guys?
I don't have a strong preference. I lean slightly towards Drew Holiday, but I feel like he's a better matchup against Luka and Kyrie, and so for that reason, like defensively, so I think I'm like leaning a little bit towards like Drew, but it's really close, and it's easier because Drew is cheaper, so that allows you to do more. But it's pretty close. Like if somebody out there is trying to decide between them in a lineup, like don't switch from drop down from Derek White to Drew Holiday just because I'm saying this. I'd rather maybe take Drew Holiday in the $1,000 and try to upgrade elsewhere than try to jam in Derek White.
Yeah, see a couple comments catch my eye in the chat. Michael said he's fading Luka on FanDuel. I mean, I hope you don't mean like fading him altogether. Maybe just out of the MVP. Please don't fade him on. He says he's about to get the Drew defense, but I mean, I've kind of dug into that because Drew's a very good defender. I don't think it's very tough to stop Luka one-on-one. And when I look at Drew's previous history against Luka, there's nothing there that tells me he's going to stop Luka one-on-one. So hope you're not fading Luka altogether because like can you win fading Luka in all 5 spots on FanDuel? That'd be tough, man, when he drops, even if he drops like a 60 burger on you.
I wouldn't fade Luka entirely on FanDuel. Like it's just not.
So worst case on FanDuel, you're like, okay, I can't play Luka on MVP. What's the lowest spot you're willing to drop him to?
I think he's got to be in one of the top 3. And I think like if you like, it might be interesting to like lock in Luka at the pro spot. and that'll give you a lot of really different lineups. And
You'd be
that's like
way
still
different, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be way
Yeah.
different. And then you just hope anything that he just not the leading scorer in the game.
Yeah.
So I get it. Let's see. We got Dean. Big Dean is in chat. He's trying to get a little specific on us. What do you have any build rules for this game that you have implemented?
I would, and something interesting is like Porzingis is not starting, which I think is a little bit of a surprise.
Whoa,
So
you said
left
Porzingis is not starting?
Yeah, so I think it's Al Horford starting, and I think that he's going to make a difference. Build rules, like I don't know that I would play like Porzingis and Horford together. I don't think I'd play Gafford and Lively together. I think that's about it. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't play like the backups, the centers with their like backups.
So he's okay. It's coming in now. I had to refresh. That's interesting. Horford is in the starting lineup and not Porzingis, but yet Porzingis is like not limited, no minutes limit. That's a little bit weird because it's clearly they're a better team with Porzingis out there over Horford. That's just weird, but I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I think will that make a difference? Will that make a huge difference? Will you go back and rebuild now something?
Yeah, I think I will because yeah, it's just,
like we're getting out here early.
And I probably will like put in a rule that's like no, like I wouldn't do Al Horford. Like wouldn't overlap any of the centers, right? Especially for Boston. Like I wouldn't overlap Horford and Porzingis. I wouldn't overlap like Porzingis and Xavier Tillman. I think it'll probably be Tillman over Luke Cornett, but just because like this is like makes me a little bit wary, and I still want to be like over the field on Porzingis. I think, but I now expect he's going to have lower ownership, and I like just in case I'm wrong, like I want to have a bunch of really strong Al Horford lineups that are maybe not like dragged down by a Porzingis playing much less than we thought.
Yeah, that's a weird one, man. That one catches me off guard. And but you just mentioned another pair that I don't think you'll set a rule. Will you set a rule that said no Lively and Gafford in the same lineup? And then for me personally, I think this is a better Lively series. So I think Gafford's obviously starting. That's what he's been starting, but Lively's been coming off the bench, playing just as much. It's matchup dependent. I think this is a Lively matchup. So you're not going to play both of those guys in the same lineup, right? And do you have a preference on
them? I prefer Lively, but I think Lively is now the more expensive one. And actually, like Gafford is like pretty well priced, especially for his scoring on FanDuel. So I prefer Lively, but I don't mind Gafford, if that makes sense, particularly on FanDuel, where he just is underpriced and scores well.
Yeah. Let's see here. Worried about his minutes. Yeah, that sounds like they're worried about something with Porzingis. I don't like that at all. That stinks. I think Horford captain just became optimal. I don't know about that one. Like Horford he might string together a really good game in this series. I don't think it's going to be consistent, so I don't know if I want him. I don't think he's going to be optimal. In fact, I just think he's going to get run off the court, man, at some point. That's why this surprises me so much, but let's see, a question for you. Hauser or Maxi Kleber, last man in on DK for more of a cash game, not going for GPP.
Cash games I would do Sam Hauser and tournaments and maybe switch their projection and do like Max Kleber, and that gives you a little bit more money. I would maybe switch the projection, go overweight Kleber in tournaments, by cash games, take the money and use Sam Hauser.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to catch it. Yeah, Steve. Is that Yappy? I think that's Yappy. Horford starting he doesn't think Horford starting means a lot, just his opinion. But I actually think that when Porzingis is healthy, he's the starter. For him not to start, I think it means something. Like I don't know. Just does your overlap rule for centers also apply on FanDuel? There's a question from We Major.
I think so, yeah. What you're really hoping for is foul trouble, or like somebody gets hurt. But yeah, I mean, chances are, right? Like, especially with this Al Horford starting thing, this just raises a lot of questions that we just can't answer until the game starts. Like, is Porzingis more hurt than we thought? Is this lingering more than we thought? So maybe he is limited in terms of minutes. Like, we kind of make fun of teams like. Might make fun of like the Clippers playing the Wizards in in November and the injury report is all murky. It's like they're trying to get some kind of edge, and Doc Rivers is out there with Philly or whatever, right? We're like, come on, man. It's a November game against the Wizards. Nobody cares. Well, this is the NBA Finals. It's like if they're playing around, if they are playing some games with the injury report, this is the time to do it. So this like Porzingis being not in the starting lineup makes me a little bit nervous. Like it only makes sense now that he's going to be maybe a little bit more limited than we were expecting.
Yeah. Okay. This is a Butthole Jenkins, friend of the chat. We love Butthole here, man. But he says it's interesting because I have an opinion on this guy also. Does Porzingis coming off the bench make Peyton Pritchard a better play now tonight?
I don't know that's going to affect him that much. It makes me worried about Porzingis, and it makes me higher on Al Horford. But I still will place a good amount of Porzingis, just not with Horford. If you want to give like Peyton Pritchard a little bit of bump up, you can. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact though.
So here's the thing about Pritchard. Boy, I just got him identified as a guy I want to try to fade as much as I can. With or without Porzingis coming off that bench, I don't think it matters. I don't know how he steps on the court and Dallas doesn't see him, identify him, and immediately attack him. This is the finals. You know everything now. Yeah. You've already prepped for this. You have had like 7 days off. Like if this guy comes out here, this is what we're going to do to Peyton Pritchard. He does not have the size or athletic ability to keep up with either one of these guys in the backcourt, and one of them's always on the floor. So. Yeah, I don't know if this is a Peyton Pritchard series. And we saw his minutes. Like they were really nice in the Miami series. Okay, well, that's Miami. And then even in the Cleveland series, but that's kind of a difference. They started to really tick down in that Indiana series, and I think they really tick down even more here. I think it's really tight, condensed rotation, so I'm not sure about any of that. Let's see. How does what do you think about Josh Green on FanDuel? What do you think about that?
Let me check my FanDuel. So I kind of agree on the Peyton Pritchard thing. I actually like playing Peyton Pritchard if the Celtics are like on the road. Like if it's the game, like maybe game 3, like let's say these first 2 games are a little close. And it's like, wow, Dallas is, has a really good shot in game 3 at home. Then maybe you want to play like some Peyton Pritchard thinking like Boston's trying to come back. They want a little bit more offense. In terms of, Josh Green, I'm not getting a lot of him on FanDuel. Let's see, he is, he's 7,500.
It's tough on FanDuel because you got your 3 big spots. He'll never hit one of those spots in your lineup, and so then you've only got like 2 spots left. And is it going to be Josh Green? He's another guy I think could get played off the court in this series. So we're not going to listen. We got a couple minutes left here, guys. We're going to do some rosters here in a minute, like on our own. We got to get back and edit and stuff. So we're going to get out of here pretty soon. I'll look for some more questions. In the meantime, let's build a quick 6-team run Underdog for me, man, because I want to win some money tonight. I'm going to lead this thing. All right. I got one squirrel that I kind of like. I love the payout on it. Luka over the half but triple double. So he just needs to hit a triple double. The payout's 2.75 times higher. I love it. 2 games this year. Like, I just think that Boston gives him what he wants, and they try to, stifle everybody else. And so he's had some great success against them this year in all 3 categories. I'm going over that one. You got a second one for me you really like?
I don't have I don't have the Underdog stuff.
No. Any particular player you think, this guy's got a shot tonight?
Let me think. You know what? I would go over. I do like the Maxi Kleber. Over 1.5 rebounds. You're getting plus money.
1.5. Oh yeah. We're getting a little multiplier there on Kleber. I like that on the rebounds. All right, I'm going to pick one. Let's see. I said earlier, pick one, Tatum or Brown. Oh man. Somebody pointed out how much Tatum has struggled in 3-point shooting in the postseason and all that. So maybe I'll lean towards Brown here. I think one of them is going to have an awesome game point-wise. So I'm going to go over higher on the 23.5 on Jaylen Brown on my entry. Let me throw another name out to you. Drew and Derek White. One of those 2 guys. Pick me one that you think is going to be I can take for a prop tonight. Either one of them, and I'll pick the right, like assists. Let's go with assists. Brown, those are usually your big dogs right there. Derek White, Drew Holiday, the backcourt. Who's going to get the most assists
I'd go with Drew. It's pretty close, but I'd go with Drew Holiday. You just figure maybe he's getting a little bit more minutes. I think he's a good defensive matchup. They're going to want him out there as much as they possibly can. So maybe that adds an extra assist.
Okay. Now I'm going to go with, we've mentioned Sam Hauser. I'm going under the 3.5 points. Unless it's a blowout, I don't think he's getting very many minutes. And I've even got the luxury, if he does step foot on the court, I've got the luxury. He can hit a 3-pointer on me and I can still hit this bet. He's going to have to hit 2 because he doesn't go for 2s anyway. So I'm going to take, I think he goes under that. Yeah, let's do one more. Do you have anybody you want to fade in this thing so I can go under on their totals or anything like that? Anybody you feel like not going to have a good game?
I don't know. The Porzingis totals might be.
Let me see it. They might have taken him off the board now.
Yeah.
I'm getting 13.5 points higher, lower. They've got some 5 rebounds. Yeah, his stuff is lower than what it probably should be. I think they've accounted for it. Maybe we take an over, man, and because he's better if this is just some gamesmanship and he comes in at the very first time out and he plays his 30+ minutes. These numbers are way too low for him, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big drop. His points, rebounds, assists was 24.5, and it went off the board. It came back at 20.5.
All right, I'm plugging that one in. I'm getting over $2,000 for a take back on that. That sounds good. All right, guys, look, 7:18. We got about roughly a little bit more than 10 minutes. We got to go do some adjustments to the lineups. We appreciate you tuning in. This show is going to be on, I would imagine. Yeah, hit the like button. I would imagine the show is going to run every crunch time for the NBA Finals. So I'll be back next week. Probably won't do the Sunday show, but we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. For Squirrel, I was your host, Chop. We're out of here. Until next time. See you later.